God bless everybody today. It's May 26th of 2021. It's 7:45 a.m. in the morning. Markets open in about 45 minutes. This is an updated video on potentially the Bitcoin crash and how it's going to affect the markets over the next few weeks, especially in the next weekend. And as we move into next week, we have a long weekend with the Memorial Day weekend coming up. So we're going to need to address these issues. You can find all my articles on my eschatology page at End of Day Survival at endofdaysurvival.com. It has all my articles, videos, charts, flow charts, all my updates and everything like that. But let's get into what's coming up here real soon. So tonight we have a supermoon blood moon event on May 26th, which is tonight. And I believe that is the second of three supermoons, one last month, this one, which is a blood moon event in the middle of the three, and then we have an additional blood moon, supermoon event next month, which I believe leads us into the June 30th area of my timeline. And so we need to look at how that's affecting us in real time. So if we go back to the Bitcoin chart, this is a one-day chart. We can see that this is a pretty ugly chart. Now what I've done is I've added what they call the Fibonacci lines, as you can see. So you take this Fibonacci tool, and I drew it from basically 0 to the high point, which was 64,900, which is amazing. That's a perfectly round number. That's pretty hard to do, and that seems manipulated in itself. But once you lay this Fibonacci tool down and you bring it from the 0 to the highest point, it shows you the range of basically zones of potential interference. As the market moves it down, it's got to come through these layers, and it all has to come up through the layers as it starts to rebound and come up forward or up to the top. So once it comes down and see it's broken through all these layers of interference and distortion as it moves down, it's in the process of trying to bring itself back up, and then it has to move through these major layers or zones of interference on this Fibonacci tool. And like I say, 40,000 is a major layer. You have a major layer at 50, and then you have another major layer at 40 or 64. And so we're right now battling the 40,000 line, which is a major inflection point, because what it's trying to do is it's trying to fight this line of resistance as it's coming up. And you can see it's punching through the top, but then it's being brought back down. And this is a pretty crucial time, because we need to see whether this is going to move up over the line and then head up to the next line, which would give us a feeling that we're at least moving up, even though we got a long way to go to get to the top here. It would give you a feeling that we're recorrecting. Right now, I can't necessarily tell you that we're recorrecting, because what may happen is this may bounce up to the 40, and since it has no volume or momentum, it could hit this top layer and either travel along the bottom, or it could hit the top layer and lose resistance, which it seems to be doing. And so we have to determine what this is going to do. It's trying to come back up. It's trying to correct itself. It's trying to live. I don't know how to explain it. It has to move over this resistance line, or it's going to be rejected. And then this could potentially move down again. And it's on this trajectory right now. And so that's a downward trajectory. If it moves up, then it has to hit multiple lines of resistance, because you have one at 40, you've got one at 45 or 42 and a half, you have one at 45, you got one at 47 to 49, and then you hit the 50, and then so it's got to bust through multiple lines of resistance, preferably along this line, to finally get back above the 50, which is about in here on this Fibonacci line, the 49. We keep talking about the 49. And then once it breaks over the top and gets in over this interference line here, then we can potentially say that we have a breakout. But I don't see a real breakout until, 50, 45, 50. To say this is in what we call correction mode at this point. I just don't see that happening. I don't know how deep this is going to go, because if it did come up and hit and then start to be rejected, then then it's got to come back down through these layers of resistance, which it doesn't have a lot of structure back here. It's got a little bit of resistance back in here, and like I say, that 16,000 level back here is the the last real line of defense, and so between that and the 25. So I don't see a positive yet. It's improving. We're at a major inflection point. And yes, this could move this line. This line potentially could tilt up, as this is moving up, and then we have to watch these two lines here collapse upon themselves, and then you have an additional layer that it has to move over. So this plane's struggling to maintain its position. It's hitting turbulence here, and whether this plane is going to head back down, along the bottom of this resistance line, or move up again over the top of this resistance line, I don't know. It's too early to tell. It on the overview looks like it's improving. If you go into the micromanaging of this, this cryptocurrency, we can look at it and go, wow, it looks up, and it's misleading, because the trend right now in the last little bit is up, but the overall trend is down, and so we have to watch. See, there's that Fibonacci tool line here, and it's hitting this, and as you can see, it tried to punch through a number of times, and it's been rejected most of the time. It's just over the top right now. We'll see if it gets rejected again, then it would potentially move back down below 40,000 and then move down and stay below this line, or even potentially hit this line here and start to accelerate back down. This thing is moving so slow. You get these bumps up and down. One thing I'm noticing is now this is a little bit higher high here on the other side, but this is not higher than this here. And so that's a problem. And so unless this moves up and starts to move past some of these higher highs back here, it could potentially move back down. And with the blood moon event, the long weekend, Memorial Weekend coming up, and some things, I still don't see a positive here yet. It is improving, but it's a long way to trench back through all these resistances to get back to where it was. So if we go to Bitcoin Binance chart, You can see the main trend is down. Okay, it's trying to push back up over the 40, so we're getting a little bit of inflection, but in general the trend is still down. Will it move back down as we hit this 40 level, or is it going to start to climb? And see, this was May 13th, or when Musk, this was when we had this real problem, was right about in here, okay? And Musk shot Bitcoin with that arrow that's been forcing this to happen. And it's trying to survive, but it has a long trench to get back up to here, and it's going to hit all these inflection points. This is like a knife battle in trench warfare. This is trying to survive here, and it's brutal inside these zones as it's fighting its way to try to regurgitate itself, reconstitute itself, and bring itself back from this wound that was caused up here. It's trying, but it's struggling, and it's hitting these main resistance walls. And all these resistance walls from about 42 up, as you can see, it has a lot of interference and memory through this section here. So it's going to have to, it's struggling down here with no resistance. Okay. So once it hits up here and it actually gains resistance in this area up in here, it's going to hit these areas and either want to go down or up. And logically, you would think with this amount of resistance and the slow movement and no volume, that it's going to struggle once we get up in here, if we do right away, because this could turn around and then move back down, and this will then extend this line out a little over time, and so you could potentially see that, or it could just bounce around in these levels and trench because it can't get over certain areas and it doesn't know where it's comfortable at this moment because it's struggling to discern what, where it wants to go here. I'm not seeing anything good. Doge is basically the same chart. If you take Doge into the equation, hopefully it'll bring it up here. You can see it's the same chart. There's a little bit of deviation. It's trying to move over its 39 to 40 level also, 39 cents to 40 level instead of 39,000 to 40,000 in Bitcoin's condition. I also see back here where the 50-day moving average crossed over the 200-day average, which is a death cross or potential bearish signal, which shows this to potentially be in a descending pattern. A death cross is where the 50-day moves over the 200-day, and you cause this what they call a death cross. A golden cross would be, and I don't see one here, where the 50-day would actually move upward over the 200, and so that would be a positive sign that we're moving up. But this is a bearish sign in the sense that the 50-day is moving over the top and downwards over the 200 average, and so that's actually not a good sign. And so we need to look at all these indicators. Doge is no different than Bitcoin. You don't see the death cross here, but there is one here, which started all this madness. Okay. So you had one here where it came over, crossed, I believe. And then once it crossed, we saw this major downtrend. So are we going to see a potential major downtrend here that would then drop us into potentially some of those areas that I keep talking about. You know, you hit that 25 fear factor line down here. We're not that far from it. You know, you're 10 points. You're much closer to the fear factor line of 25 and 20 than you are of getting us back into the 64 level, which is almost 30 points off of where we are now. We only got to go 10 or 20 points this way. Much higher resistance up here as compared to down here. And so this area here is extremely important because it's sort of like that middle ground before you go up or down. And it could just sit along here and trench. It could move up, or this could go down again. Indications are still all trends are down with a death cross over the top of it, and I just don't see positives on this chart yet. And again, if you go out to Binance charts for Bitcoin, you can see those zones that we're trying to break through, your peak, and you know, you get down into these 20 25 area here. So that's why I'm saying the gap between here and the 25 is much less intense. And if you move from here up, you have a lot more interference and potential resistance for it to keep moving up. And the slow path of this is causing all kinds of problems, because it'd be one thing if it bounced and then moved up. And this market's being manipulated by all these spikes. Every time we get a spike or a tweet or something, this changes the trajectory, but it's never really changed the overall trajectory of this line. Not really yet. And until I see this punch through some of these major resistances, probably get over this 48, 49 to 50. This is not in correction, or this is in correction mode, and this is not what you would expect to be what they call a breakout until we probably get over this 49 to 50 level here. So just trying to keep you all updated. Keep an eye on this thing. We're moving into that long weekend. We got a blood moon event tonight. Commodities are moving up. Gold's over $1,900 right now. Silver is moving up. So there's a lot of fear because people are moving into hard commodities like gold, silver, because there's no yield in the market and the bond rates are going up, and so that's causing pressure of hyperinflation as we move forward. The VIX is up around 18.55. It's down a little today, but in general, once you start hitting a 20 level VIX, that's a bad sign. That shows a lot of fear and just really indecision in the markets on where this is going. I noticed back in April, we had that massive drop in the markets, and you had a massive drop in everything. That VIX went up to 80, which is unheard of. We saw oil drop below -40. And so you have to watch the VIX also, because it's what they call the fear factor. That VIX is an extremely important indicator to discern the sentiment of what people are thinking out here and how scared and maybe they're just not wanting to get into the market, or they really don't know what to do right now. The markets aren't being necessarily affected by the Bitcoin thing as much as it potentially should, because it's really just struggling to even know what to do, and it's maintaining a certain level between the 40 and 40, well, about 35 to 40 level right now, 35,000 to 40,000 level. And so in the market's minds, that's a zone that they've already built into or baked into their, their information. And so we've already gone through that 35,000 level last week, and we saw the 600 to 700 point drop. So they're in that comfort zone right now. So you're not going to see the markets really react to this thing until it starts to drop again, or we see a negative trend down. Right now, we're seeing a small positive up, potentially resistance, and a move back down again. We'll keep monitoring this. So anyway, God bless everybody. Find that open door. That's Jesus. We have to realize without the Creator, we wouldn't have anything that we have. We wouldn't have the material things that we have. We wouldn't have our families. We wouldn't have our loved ones. So God always comes first, because without the Creator, we would not have any of the other things that we have in our lives. We would not exist. So we have to take Him into consideration. Him and His Son, they're both the same in the authority and the ability. They've been here since the beginning. You can't take the Son out of the equation. You have to bring Him in, because He is the door to heaven, to the Father. And so we need to understand that. So please get right with God, find the open door, which is Jesus. Repent and get right with them. And hopefully we'll move into a better situation here. This is what I call a head fake to a certain degree, because it looks like it's improving, but necessarily that it will. I'm not saying that it's doom gloom yet. I don't know. I have to watch and see whether this is going to be rejected. And then we're going to see an additional downtrend, but the downtrend is there, and it looks to me like it's under major pressure to climb over some of these levels. And as you can see, we've now dropped below that 40,000 level because it's struggling. When I first got on here, we were over 40,000. It was just at the top of this barrier, but now it's lost momentum. There's no tweets or anything to really keep moving this market up, and it's hitting these resistance barriers, so it's starting to move back down below the 40,000 mark. So just keep an eye on this thing. This is not going away. The next week we'll probably grind this thing to one level or the other, either up or down. Momentum is down at this point, so we will see how this turns out. Like I say, God bless, have a great day, and we'll keep updating this throughout the week, and hopefully this will turn around. If it doesn't, we know what to look for, we know what to prepare for, and we'll just keep watching this. God bless, have a great day.